Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and after the runaway success of my Winchesters episode 1 video after some time, I've decided to revisit the series and watch the entire first season of the Winchesters. Initially, I had no intentions of continuing it, but you guys seemed to like my episode 1 review, so it made sense for me to continue with these reviews now that the season was over. Now, everything that I said in that initial review came out to be abject fact, with the CW crap going through it, the shallow characters, the nonsensical drama between the characters, the walking and talking, the talking in hallways, the walking and talking, sitting down, just constantly talking about empty, vapid feelings. That was 100% accurate. Everything I said in episode 1 carried over into the rest of the season, and I would not have watched this on my own whatsoever if it weren't for the interest that you all showed. So I would appreciate you liking and sharing the video to justify my investment into this garbage series. Luckily, I went the route of watching it at 4 times speed just to get through this utter slog faster. Now, my initial episode 1 review gave it roughly a 4 out of 10. Now that I've seen the whole thing, I would give it significantly lower rating because it is just vapid nonsense. Now, a lot of it isn't offensively bad, like something like Rings of Power or Witcher Blood Origin, so it'll slightly eke out a better score than that, but at the end of the video, I'll show you where I really think this show ends up finally. But before I get any further, there will be spoilers ahead, so spoiler alert. Now, this first season follows John and Mary Winchester getting together and hunting together long before they did in the original timeline, fighting the Eitr, which are these multiversal bug alien creatures that apparently Chuck created as a failsafe. Like, if I lose, everybody loses. So he made universe-destroying bugs. However, that is inconsistent show versus tell. These Eitr, they just seem to be mind control bugs that don't seem to have any sort of massive destructive power. The majority of what they seem capable of is very superficial and not all that devastating. Yes, you need to stop them because they're killing people and taking over people's minds, but universe destroying, you need to show something that matches the tell that they are universe destroying. We got not even a single iota of that. At best, they're as dangerous as something like the Leviathans were in season 6. Shapeshifters, people who could take over humanity, stuff like that, and infiltrate Earth and affect that one Earth. But they said not only this universe, but other universes. And therein lies an additional issue. At the end of season 15, Chuck destroyed all the other universes in the multiverse and the other timelines, resulting in just the main universe that we see in the show. Now, Jack, he said he restored everything, but most people took that to understand that he just restored the main Earth timeline, and that's what a lot of people believe. Even if that isn't the case, there are issues with that I'll get it to at the end of this video. But overall, everything I said, once again, from the episode 1 is absolutely true. John and Mary, terrible actors, have zero chemistry with one another. Carlos is just weird for the sake of being weird, but doesn't really have any substance. And the other characters, I can't even remember their names. This show is just so superficial. Jensen Ackles might be an incredible actor and a good director from the episodes he directed in Supernatural itself, but he is not a good writer and a good showrunner, and that disappoints me more than anything else. Even his writing for the voiceover was overly dramatic and cringe for a lot of the scenarios and wasn't providing anything additional that the audience needed to know. For the most part, voiceover needs to be adding something to the story and be unique and affect the audience's engagement with the story. But overall, it was just, yeah, hunting's hard. Yeah, hunting, you can't have families. All stuff that we already either know or can infer from this show, this season itself. I am very happy that it did not receive a mid-season renewal or a renewal for upcoming seasons. The Winchesters is awful, and there's just not a whole lot to enjoy with it. John, he's a complete joke. Mary, she's not a Mary Sue. I would not call her that whatsoever. But there are issues with her character that make her incredibly unlikable and uninteresting overall. Now, there are individual scenes that I have issues with. For example, the luck. The luck in this show is astronomical. Yes, Supernatural had some luck previously, but John has a piece of silver stuck in his arm from when his buddy stepped on a mine and his silver cross embedded itself in his arm. Then he cuts it out and tries to fight a Rougarou with it. Not ignoring here the redesign of the Rougarous, but if it was that easy to cut out that he could just do it with a pocket knife, a doctor would have taken it out. You only leave pieces of debris in someone if they're in a dangerous position or not worth getting to. But if a little knife could go like this, take it out, fight with it, and it's really tiny, so he's just like poking it like that, really ridiculous, the doctors would have taken it out. It's nonsense, and that's just only one minor aspect of it. The prison box that is like the MacGuffin of this first season is completely ridiculous, and it looks so cheesy when they're just pointing at the corners to open it. It's inconsistent rules. It just looks really bad when they're opening it. I don't like the prison box at all, and it's a little bit too convenient, and that's something that the main series dealt with a few times, specifically with the Colt. The Colt was a little bit too convenient, but it had restrictions put upon it, like the ammo. This box, its restrictions are very, very superficial and easily solvable. You just need something that you have a close sentiment to fuel it, and that seems to be what you need. It's kind of weird, inconsistent rules with that as well, but that's a lot easier to get hold of than magic bullets. And even later, when they figure out the formula of the bullets, they lose the gun. They need to fight off the utter convenience of a monster destroying device like that can get rid of anything. Moving on to the dialogue a little bit, it is some of the most cliche and cringe dialogue I've seen in CW show to date. It is really impressive how cringe this dialogue is, and things don't make sense. Like, a grieving mother is asked, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And he's like, yeah, there's this weird stuff going on. "Oh, what do you mean weird stuff?" "You know what? You're the second person who asked a follow-up question to me saying that there's weird stuff. If you say there's weird stuff going on to everybody you meet, why are you surprised when they ask you a follow-up question?" But that's how the whole plot hinges off of that woman noticing that Mary's question was odd so that she could figure out who this other person asking her questions was. That is so superficial. That is so dumb and poorly put together. That is just one example of it again. When it comes to the writing behind John's character, it is nothing like the Jeffrey Dean Morgan performance that we got, or even the performance of the younger actor we got in mainly season 4 and 5. We got him in some other pieces as well, but it is not John Winchester in any way, shape, or form. The actor playing John Winchester doesn't understand the character and doesn't seem capable of anything better, so I don't have any negative feelings towards any of these actors. They did the best they could, but they were not the right people for the role and not talented in any way that stood out to me whatsoever. And his PTSD scenes from either having a vision in a bathroom or sitting in a shower, letting the water fall over him while his mom holds him, are just so sad. Like, I want to be emotionally invested in John Winchester. He went through a lot, but seeing that, I want to laugh. I want to laugh. When it comes to Mary's characterization, it was, "Oh, I'm the best, and my daddy, he's mean to me. I want to get out of hunting, but I need to find my dad." It's too cliche. We've seen this 100 times. It is basically a reinventing of the plotline from season 1 of Supernatural, where it's someone trying to find their dad who's been missing from a hunt for a few days. And that's all we really get for her, with the exception of a dream sequence we get about halfway through the season where she's reliving some of her horrific memories. And it's a really odd memory that she does. And there's some weird camera work, like she punches through a wall when she's mad, and then the camera is inside the wall looking out the hole at Mary's face, just really, really close up. It's really awkward and doesn't make sense for that to be her most traumatic event. She had her cousin die just recently and believes it her fault. It's hunting related. That's way more traumatic than the scene that they showed there. Mary got so very little substance that it's not even worth talking about her character any further. Now, when it comes to world building, there is constant contradictions between Supernatural and this show. For example, they changed how golems operate. With golems in the original show, yes, they had the scroll under their tongue, but you had to say the right power word and claim it to have the scroll come out. You couldn't just cut off a golem's head or reach into a golem's mouth and rip out the scroll to kill it. That's not how the golems worked in Supernatural. But suddenly, this golem, he's wearing a COVID face mask to make sure you can't just reach into his mouth and pull out his skull. It's cheesy. It is ridiculous. Consistent world building is important, especially with a world that is so broad and expansive as the Supernatural mythology, and contradicting it in that obvious of a way is really disappointing. And there's other examples of it as well, specifically with the changes to the mythology that were established at the end of season 15, but I'll get to those at the end of the video when I talk about the Jack and Dean Winchester portion of this video. Now, moving on, the villain was incredibly flat. We only got her for the final episode and only for a couple minutes, and her whole thing was, "Oh, I'm possessing a hunter who's like you, Mary. We're the same. We're all just alike." We were being told what to do by an overbearing white man, whether or not it's Mary's father who's pushing her into a life, or Chuck, God, pushing the Accreta to be his end doomsday plan. It's very superficial, not well acted, and comes in at the last moment to try to wrap up the plot line of the season in the most superficial and uninteresting and anticlimactic way possible. That is the best way to describe this season as a whole. It is so anticlimactic in every single essence of the word. It's not interesting. It's not climactic in character arcs. It's not climactic in plot lines. It's not climactic in action. To defeat the villain in the end, Mary just drives Baby into a portal, and that's it. They're trapped. Oh, yay. Chuck is defeated. The multiverse is saved. But that doesn't make any sense for a lot of reasons. For example, Baby is a ghost. It's a ghost car. Now, at the end of season 15, we do see Dean up in heaven with Baby, but from what we've seen before, when you're in heaven, it manifests with what you want, but those aren't actually physically tangible objects. For example, we see some houses that Sam grew up at, has a really good memory of in season 5 when him and Dean die, and there's other examples of it as well, where physical objects, they kind of are shown to you and they help you process your death and give you as happy of an afterlife as possible. The car isn't real. You couldn't just summon Ghost Baby from heaven to save the day. That's nonsense. Pure unadulterated bullshit. That's all that was. And so we're changing the rules about how heaven operates there. We're changing how ghosts interact with the world. Dean is 100% just a human. He's interacting. He's giving people things. He's not doing the normal, like, flashing in and out like supernatural ghosts do. He's time traveling. How do ghosts time travel? And sure, Dean knows what he's doing. And it also contradicts the time dilation scene at the end of season 15 as well. When Dean gets to heaven, he just makes a quick drive over to the bridge where he meets up with Sam, and that's immediate for him, whereas Sam, in that same interim, experienced 30, 40, 50 years of life, however long it was until Sam eventually died. But in this, it's saying, oh, he's fully aware that what Sam is doing. He's fully aware that Sam is alive and he's trying to save the universe so Sam could live his happy life. That's incongruent. It's changing that. Jack, he made it very clear that he would never be seen again, that he is just part of the universe now. He's not going to be a physically manifest god, but he just shows up at the end of this like, yeah, cool. Oh, you thought I meant that? They don't even address it. He's just, he's there. Another damaging aspect of the world building and inconsistent mythology with this story comes in way of the time travel aspect of the Winchesters, which directly contradicts many of the events that happen at the end of season 15. This is a problem with a lot of time travel stories that was within season 15. It was a problem in season 15, but they don't address it in this one, and it becomes an even bigger issue when it affects the plot, is the fact that God in this universe, Chuck, is a infinite being that exists in all time, and he can time travel, go back and forth whenever he wants, so he should know in his future that he's defeated by Sam and Dean Winchester. That's something that he should know, but we kind of like give season 15, because it was the finale, a little bit of leeway with that. But in this one, they're going back to the past, and Jack is God, so did Jack reboot the entire universe with him as always God? Then why do people remember? Why is the story the same? Why is the timeline prior to Chuck's defeat still the same? There's a lot of issues with it, and the Winchesters just exacerbates one of the primary issues with the finale of season 15. And I love the end of season 15, but it doesn't necessarily make sense from a logic perspective. Winchesters just doubles down on that issue. And when it comes to the multiversal aspect, Dean specifically says, this is the multiverse. I am going around trying to find a timeline where I can make a perfect future for me and Sam. We hadn't established that multiverses were still a thing after Chuck got rid of them in season 15, but whatever. And he's saying that the Eitr are not going to just destroy this universe, but they're going to destroy the whole multiverse, which is, again, a stretch like I mentioned earlier, because the Eitr never show anything that makes that make any sense. But the timeline deal, if this is the same universe, because he does say, that's our world down there, I couldn't let it get destroyed. He says that to Jack. That implies that this is the Prime universe. I thought he was in a different universe. They're inconsistent with that. And even if it is a different universe, Sam and Dean Winchester have been proven to be the greatest warriors in humanity's fight against extinction. So every universe needs their Sam and Dean. That's something that was established in season 15 as well. And God, Chuck watching them. They are the important characters. But with Dean specifically affecting the story of Mary and John Winchester, it puts their very births in jeopardy. So if this is the Prime timeline, it might undo everything that leads to Chuck's defeat and revert things back, which doesn't make sense. Or it's in another universe where he just wanted to make everything peachy and cozy. Then why is it the same universe that the Eitr are coming through? Why specifically this one? And in this universe, they also make it so that Henry Winchester is killed by the Eitr and not adrift in time sent into the future and then later killed by Abaddon. Abaddon wasn't involved in this at all, which is weird. They're just changing so much and being so inconsistent with their rules that it still breaks the timeline. It still breaks canon a lot just to have Mary and John interact with each other a few years earlier and hunt together, which they never did in the original timeline. It doesn't make sense within the canon of Supernatural, and it's poorly written on top of that. Sometimes canon break can be excused if it's well written, driven by great character work, as Supernatural proves. There is some canon breaking going on in Supernatural itself, but because of the nature of the quality of the Winchesters, it is a big fail on every single conceivable level, and it's garbage. And it seems that people are reacting to it as such, because we have the numbers here for the viewership of the Winchester season 1 given to us by TV series finale. Now, these are just American numbers, but if we look at this, only 781,000 people watched the premiere episode of the Winchesters, and it only had a demo of 0.12, which isn't terrible, but not great. It's pretty all right for most of the CW comparatively. But even just the next episode, it lost 40% of its audience, dipping all the way down to 464,000 people watching it. And its series low looks like it was 293,000 people watching, and a demo of 0.04 at its lowest. It only averaged a 0.07 demo and 463,000 people watching this show. Fans are rejecting this generic CW garbage. There's a reason it wasn't renewed by the CW, irregardless of the whole CW's never been financially viable and the changeovers about who owns it. Even the CW, with their history of renewing garbage TV shows that nobody's watching, was able to look at this and say, this is a disaster. This is an utter complete disaster and nobody wants it. It does not fit within Supernatural canon, and as such can be wholly and completely rejected by the fans. This isn't a continuation of Supernatural in any way, shape, or form. It's just some generic monster hunting show that has some characters with the same names. That's about the strongest connection it has to the Supernatural universe. Even the appearance of Dean Winchester wasn't all that exciting. It didn't give me any nostalgia for the show. It didn't get me reinvested. Even his appearances wasn't enough. But I do have to say, there are two things that I liked in this series as a whole. Just two. Having Rowena back, that did get me a little bit excited. I love the character of Rowena, especially her character arc across the 6 seasons that she was in. She was an incredible character, and she's a lot of fun, very vibrant on screen, and the actress still pulled it off beautifully when she came in as a cameo in episode 12. The other thing I like is when Samuel Campbell called the Men of Letters Mole Men. I think that makes sense. The abbreviation of Men of Letters, that the hunters don't like Men of Letters. I liked that. It was one little reference and a new addition to the lore that I enjoyed. That's it. I don't like John knowing about the Men of Letters whatsoever. Even though his father was a man of letters, he never knew who they were. I don't like him hunting with Mary because that's not how it was. Just saying that this is an alternate timeline doesn't excuse the desecration to the characters, the poor acting, and even calling it an alternate timeline doesn't work within the established mythology of Supernatural, especially with the ending of season 15. Overall, I'd have to give this season as a whole probably a 2.5 or a 3 out of 10. It is just so forgettable. I literally had to record this review right after watching the finale because I was afraid that I'd forget everything important that I had to say. It is just that forgettable. It is that so nonsensical. It is not offensive like Rings of Power or Witcher Blood Origin. It is still a forgettable CW crap fest that offers nothing to fans and brings nothing new to the table that fits in with the old world. This isn't an expansion of Supernatural. It's a contradiction of Supernatural, making the show itself devalued in comparison. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? Oh, I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.